On today's episode, we're doing part 2 of Haunted Long Island Mysteries, spirits and ghosts haunting various places on Long Island. It's so appropriate because it's Halloween week with author Carrie Ann Flanagan-Broski on the Back to Paranormal podcast. And welcome to this week's episode of Back to Paranormal. My name is Brian Mitchell, and I am a co-host with...
Marjorie.
Marjorie!
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
You're so pretty tonight.
Well, thank you, handsome.
You're always pretty. You know that.
Thank you, darling.
She made a delicious dinner tonight.
Oh, what did you have for dinner?
I had a delicious salad, and then I had a souffle.
Was it good?
It was delicious.
It was. Oh, I put too much salt.
No, it was delicious. I loved it. I loved it. It's the second time I've had a souffle, and I think the first time you made it. So it was really, really yummy.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for
Just
making
a
that.
simple cheese
Yeah,
souffle.
it was delicious.
It was very blustery out there today.
It was very cold and very fall-like.
Yes.
Finally.
Yes.
Because it felt like summer up to like a week ago.
It was like Indian summer, and then now the sun goes down and it's super crisp, and I am happy.
Just in time for the trick-or-treaters out here. Mm-hmm. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about Carrie Ann Flanagan-Broski's book, Haunted Long Island Mysteries. Last week we were talking about the historic haunts of Long Island. And that was a fun show. So we're just continuing on. And so we're, talking a little bit about this book. And I didn't go through the whole book. I read some chapters and places I've been. The Millerage Inn, which is out in Jericho, Long Island, which is supposed to be haunted. And also there's a cemetery right down the road from us, which is the
Lakeview Cemetery.
Lakeview Cemetery, which is also supposed to be very haunted. And it has a kind of a grim backstory to it because a lot of people were not originally buried there. So that's kind of creepy all itself. And we found out they were actually buried very close to where we live. So it's kind of spooky. It's kind of a spooky area that we're in, but anyway.
You know what? The more we read, the more we explore all of this. I guess it's spooky all over.
It is. I think all of
the stories from the Millerage Inn really, really captured me.
Yeah,
I was enjoying that, and you and I have been there.
Yes, we have
several times. I didn't ever get any kind of.
I didn't get a feeling.
Spook feeling.
No,
but then you go and you read the things that have happened to the employees.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Who work there, and let me tell you, it's pretty riveting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places on Long Island featured in this book, which are very, very interesting. And Carrie Ann gives a backstory, and then they go in, they actually investigate the place, and when you read these books, you can actually go on her site, and she has EVPs, which is electronic voice phenomenon. And you can listen to the EVPs as you're reading the book, and that's a special experience, I have to tell you. So
listening to some of those EVPs is really, really riveting. And, it doesn't all make sense, but it's communication, and it's fascinating. I have thoroughly enjoyed these books, and if you like history, and if you like a little chill, a little thrill, these are fun. And if you care about Long Island at all and the history that's on here,
absolutely
in this place, then definitely check these books out.
Now, before we go ahead, what are we drinking tonight? We're gonna toast.
I just want to say that one of the stories about the Lakeview Cemetery, that I read was about the shipwreck of the Louis V. Pace ship off the coast of Fire Island, and how sad that story was. Yeah,
there's a lot of very sad stories. There's one that's connected with the Fire Island lighthouse involving a child that got sick, and it was very cold, and they could not get a doctor fast enough to the island, and the child ended up dying. And then they basically burned the baby in the fireplace because they couldn't bury the child. And it's just
the
ground was frozen. So it was a devastating story. But it's apparently haunted. So, and we've been there. We've been there to the site. So it's a story you probably didn't hear, but you heard it from me. But it's devastating. So there's a lot of interesting stories here. Some of them that will give you a really good chill, and some of them that will actually affect you. And between the two books. So anyway,
yes. Yes. All right.
Yeah. A lot of spooky stuff. Anyway, we're going to toast for Halloween. Right?
Yes.
And we dug up this wine.
We will toast as the veil between the world of the dead and the world of the living grows
That's right.
ever thinner.
Yes.
Towards the day of All Hallows Eve.
Exactly. And we were looking for some spirits for the show. And
I couldn't come up with a cocktail for tonight. I'm
no, but you picked out
running on fumes, guys.
You picked out.
Send in suggestions. I'll whip up whatever y'all want.
Oh, please do.
But tonight we have a lovely Cabernet Sauvignon.
And from where?
Ghost Pines.
Ghost Pines. And
in honor of spook season, let's boop.
Okay, let's boop. Here we go.
Let's
1, 2, 3. Here. Ooh, there
boop.
We go. And I'm going to take a sip of this along with you.
Yeah, definitely make sure that all our listeners can hear the slurp and then the gulp.
I am the sound effects guy on the show.
You are. Yeah,
but that's an authentic slurp. Mm-hmm. Yes, I don't normally drink like that, but we want you to get the full effect.
He's giving it to you.
I'm giving it to you.
Giving you the full color. Oh, hey, you know what?
What?
I also learned in this book.
What did you learn?
Miller Ridge Inn restaurant.
Yes.
They serve a Yankee pot roast.
I've heard about the Yankee pot roast.
Have you?
I have. I have never had it, but that might be something we should check out. Maybe that's haunted.
The pot roast?
Okay, well, the restaurant. Okay.
What about my pot roast?
Your pot roast is the best.
I get very competitive about my Yankee pot roast.
She does. It's a great pot roast. It's not haunted or anything. It's just delicious.
If I need to acquaint myself with the competition, I feel that we need to go to Miller Ridge Inn and enjoy their so-called Yankee pot roast.
Well, it's supposedly famous, but...
you can order it.
Okay, I will. Yeah.
Okay.
What did we have the other day that it was like you told? Oh no, it was Marjorie makes some really. Can I use this word? Bitchin' macaroni salad, and I had one. I thought this was pretty funny. It's not ghostly, but it's one of those. We say this. I say there's no such thing as a coincidence, but. Monday, I was out and I felt like macaroni salad around the afternoon. I just wanted
did you?
I did. I got a little thing of macaroni salad, and I won't tell you where I got it from, but it really was below par.
Oh, was it?
And then I came home and you were making macaroni salad. She does not make this all the time. I think the last time you made it was, it was a long time ago.
Like a year ago.
I mean, she makes all these other wonderful dishes, but it's just, but this was.
It's a treat.
This was superior. So yummy, so delicious.
Oh, was it?
It really was. And so, anyway, okay, we should really get to this show.
We really need to get to the meat on the bone.
The meat on the bone. And the meat on the bone is...
Part two.
Part two of our interview with Carrie Ann Flanagan Broski. So please sit back, enjoy. We'll come back after...
Enjoy.
Yes, we will close things up after the interview. So please sit back and enjoy this interview. Part two. And that's all I'm going to say. Here you go. So that's what I was going to say.
It was great. It was great.
But well, do you have fun? You have fun doing this? I
do.
I think you look
really
like you have fun doing this. Yeah.
Like her face
I really
lights
do.
up.
You know what? I loved Nancy Drew as books as a child. I really did. And there was a family ghost story that was told to me by my parents, and an apartment they had lived in that was owned by my father's brother's wife. So my aunt and uncle, her family had owned it, and it was an attic apartment in Valley Stream.
Wow.
So I was always interested in this. And then as time went on, I was exploring more spiritual things. And, like I said, I went to Catholic school, and I was, throughout my childhood, I have to say I was a good kid. I never got into trouble or any of those things. But I remember going to face-to-face confession with a priest who ended up becoming a Monsignor. He was the pastor of our parish, and he was also a friend of my father's. They had grown up together. The priest was older though. And I went to confession, and I said, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned." And he said, "Well, what have you done?" And I said, "Well, I'm a bad Catholic." And he said, "What are you talking about, a bad Catholic?" I said, "Well, I just read Out on a Limb by Shirley MacLaine." And I said, "And that's, not what the church teaches." And I felt terrible. And he told me, he says, "Carrie Ann, you're a good person." He said, "The Catholic Church, we have to teach you what's inside the box, and then it's up to you to find your spiritual path." And I did, and I incorporate, everything that I do. And over time, my love of Christ and everything has only increased. My faith has only increased,
Right.
and my relationship with God has only increased. So you can't say, well, people could judge me and say what I do is bad, but it's not. I know it's not, because this is the path that I was led to do.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of superstition still in the world, and
Yeah.
thinking that this is bad. And I'm like, if somebody comes to you, and I'm talking about a psychic medium, or somebody's, like a psychic medium, or a spirit appears to you, and it's basically a deceased relative, and they're smiling at you and they're sending you love. That's what I consider a godlike thing. Yeah. So I don't see, and it's the same thing with a psychic medium. If they're coming, they're saying, your aunt is coming through, and she's saying, wonderful things. She's sending her love to you and whatever. How could that be a bad thing? I don't think it's,
Right, exactly. It helps people to understand that their loved ones live on, and that they are so happy, and they don't experience any pain, so they can't grieve anymore. So some people get upset, like, they go and have this experience with the medium, and they're like, well, why wasn't my parent upset? Because they're not capable of being upset. They're always happy and full of love.
right.
So, and also there's no time. So that's the other thing, is that when there's no time, they'll be like, well, we'll see you kind of like very soon, in the next few minutes. But for us, it's like, well, if someone's 40 years old and you live to be 85, you're like, oh my God, that's a long time to live without my loved one.
Right.
But so it's a different thing, but it really should bring comfort to people.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, if they can be around you all the time if they pass, right? So basically, they're always there. So what are they? There's no grieving going on.
There's no
You're
grieving,
grieving
yeah.
because you can't see them all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to sit with them. You want to have dinner with them. You want to have that back and forth conversation.
That's right.
And it's hard. I mean, even knowing what I know, I've lost both of my parents, and it was
I'm sorry.
rough. And I've lost a lot of people in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
It does not get easier.
No.
But you can get past the grief. You always live with it, but you can get past and continue to live your life. And that's the important thing, is that we have to stick to our path of what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and if you're able to really just fully acknowledge these things and not deny them and not dismiss them, and then yes, it's comforting, but it also can help you to live a freer,
Oh
more
yeah.
fulfilled, less life that's less hampered by fear.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And
That's
I say
exactly
that
it.
all the time. I feel like I'm a broken record. I think I say that on every episode.
No, no.
But it's important. It's an important point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh, I just wanted to tell you,
Okay,
we were
good.
talking about Meadowcroft, and when we first kind of moved out here, I love history, and I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit here because, but we were driving down Middle Road, and I saw, oh, Meadowcroft, it's an historic site. It's a Roosevelt,
And
thing,
there's a winery there.
property. There's a
Yeah.
winery,
Yes.
and I was like, let's go check it out. We start driving down that very narrow dirt road, and as my smile just immediately started to sort of, and the closer we got to the house, I was like, no, no, turn around, because I was getting such a spooked out
I
feeling. And
yeah.
then Joe says, well, John Ellis says, please don't feel that way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had a lot of communication in that house. We have, and again, this you can listen to on our, through the website with the EVPs.
Hmm.
We connected with the Roosevelts, and it was just a great conversation with them. And we did it with some of the staff members of Meadowcroft.
Hmm.
And it was just a great place. And part of it, too, we try to get answers to pieces of historical puzzles. Obviously, we can't prove anything.
Right.
But what we do is we're not trying to prove or disprove anything. We're just putting this out there
Right.
and let the reader, decide. But to go into these properties,
Hmm.
Marjorie, it's just fabulous. And that's what I love about it, to continue to answer your question, Brian.
Yep.
To be able to go into these historical buildings,
Yeah.
the Brewster House in Setauket, to be in Strong's Neck, where the Culper Spiring took place, to
Hmm.
be in Montauk Point at Fort Hill Cemetery, where the Indian Massacre had taken place,
Wow.
Country House Restaurant. It just goes on and on. They're such
Coho.
special places, and that I can help, promote these places has been wonderful, because so many of my readers do go to the places, Raynham Hall and Oyster Bay. There's a lot of places that are open to the public, and I encourage people
Hmm.
to go and look at them. I always say ghosts are good for business. They bring people in,
They do. They brought us
you
into
know?
a few
Exactly.
places.
And
Yeah.
then like I said, and then you learn the history, and that's what's important. But there's so many wonderful places. So, besides the Huntington Historical Society, I was also on the board of trustees for the Green Lawn Centerport Historical Association
Right.
for 3 years, and I was also involved for a little while with Friends of Ohika. So it's an important part of my
Ohika
life. But I
Castle.
just love all aspects of it. The mystery, the investigative part,
Have you
all of it.
have you inspected Coe Hall?
Yes, we did.
Coe
We
Hall
did.
is in Planting Fields,
Yes.
Arboretum. That's up in Oyster Bay. Can
Yeah.
I tell you a little story?
Sure.
I had to go into the basement of Coe Hall,
Oh.
and one of the people there, he said, "Well, if you're going in there, there's no lights, so make sure you bring a good flashlight."
Mm.
And this place is supposed to be haunted. And so anyway, I went through there, and it's a long area to walk through with a flashlight. And I had fresh batteries in the flashlight, but I was going through the area, and all of a sudden, the 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 light started diminishing like crazy. I mean, it wasn't like a slow thing. It was,
Right.
but it just started to diminish like really fast, and I started to realize, I wonder if this place is haunted, if it's really. And I turned around, and I was like, by the time I got out of that area, the batteries were dead.
Yeah,
This is not a mile
common.
long. It's not a mile long,
Right.
but it's a long area. But not in 3 minutes for it to like die like that. It was just really crazy. Never
That
had
is
that
weird.
happen.
And if I tell you, working with Joe on all of these things, he would bring loads of batteries with him, because his batteries were all, I mean, again, with my camera, and I had the power pack, so I had a lot more juice. But
Right.
with him, he was going through batteries left and right, because again, you're talking about energy,
Hmm.
and they use that energy to be able to do what they do, whether it
Yeah.
be show us an orb,
Right.
communicate with us through an EVP. So it's amazing. But yeah, Cohol was a little quiet when we were there, which is fine. Sometimes the spirits don't always want to, participate, but we did get some orbs there.
Right.
And it has a great history. But another place where we went, I had mentioned the Brewster House in Setauket. Very small place, dates back to before the Revolutionary War. And when we were there, we went upstairs and we knew that there had been a lot of people that had been living in that upstairs portion throughout the years. And Joe and I were both photographing. We were getting nothing. So finally, I said, we treat them like what they are, people. We have a lot of respect for them. And I said, look, I'm writing this book. We're trying to educate the public on communication with spirit, the spiritual world, that it is possible. And we're going to be talking about the Brewster House. We want to save it and all that. I said, could you just give us maybe a couple of moments just so we can get some images from you? We both picked up our cameras, started taking pictures, and for about 15 seconds, we got tons of orbs, which appear in the book, Haunted Long Island Mysteries. And we got a whole ton of them, and all different ones moving around, some in motion, and it lasted for 15 seconds, and then it was gone. I said, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Wow.
So things like that,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
And also I said I wanted to tell you something about Katie's Bar, because this is a funny one. Again, EVPs are Joe's area of expertise, but I have gotten some good ones.
Yeah.
And one of them was at Katie's Bar. We were there with Brian, the owner. It was just me, Joe, and Brian, because we do these things in the middle of the day, not usually at night, and
Right.
when it's closed. So I had my recorder going, and Brian was, I can't remember, I think he was a police officer. He was a bouncer at one point. He's a tough guy. And I said to him, I said, Brian, I know you would mention that you really wanted to own an Irish pub, but why would you pick this one? Because this one, even before you owned it, was known to be haunted.
Right.
He says, well, what are you going to do? I don't have a beef with them. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm not going to beat them up, right? And he keeps talking. When I transcribed the interview, when he got to that point where he said, you can't beat them up,
Right.
it was as if a man picked up the recorder and said into my recorder, you win. And it was a man's voice, you win.
Oh,
It was like the spirit, again, joking around saying, you win, I'm not going to mess with you,
Wow.
Right.
So it's incredible. It's
Wow.
incredible how it works.
It's very interesting. Have you ever inspected? Are you just doing Long Island, or do you go out of the area to do an inspection? Have you ever done that?
No, it's just been on Long Island. There was enough places that
There's
stuck.
there's
with it,
plenty of
yeah.
places out here.
Yeah, because also when I started this, I was much younger. I was a mom, so I couldn't be traveling.
Right.
My kids are older now, but so I kept it to Long Island and Long Island's history. So I consider myself a Long Island historian.
Yeah. There's haunted places all around the country, but Long
Oh,
Island has
everywhere. Yeah.
Long Island. It's like every other house out here is haunted. My mother's house is haunted. Your house is haunted. It's
Well,
like-
you know what? Everyone really has something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've asked audiences, I don't say who, has a ghost in their house or who has experienced that. All I ask is who has had something in their lives happen that they can't explain. And 9 out of 10 people,
Yeah.
raise their hand. And,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's when we don't understand things that we have trouble with it. And one of the things that I like to do when I lecture is to take people back in time. Because as adults, we think we have the answers to everything, that we have to know everything, and we don't like things that we don't understand.
Right.
So what I do is I take people back in time. So I could do it with you guys. I take you back to the 1800s, poof, in the 1800s, and we're sitting together, and I bring out a flat screen television set. You've never seen anything that looks like this. We'll pretend we have electricity. I plug it in. I say, this man is talking to you live right now from London, England. What would you say in 1800? No, he's not.
Right.
No, he's not. I said, well, he is, because you're seeing it with your own eyes. But yet your brain in 1800 could not possibly
didn't
comprehend a television
possess
set.
the lexicon to describe, and same thing goes with science. They want so desperately to answer questions. It's very noble. It's a noble pursuit, but they only have specific tools.
Right, I
Yeah.
know. And that's it. And some things we're just not supposed to know. I mean,
Yeah.
look at all the things we have today. I mean, another part, I bring people back to the 1950s. Family going on a trip, and they have the directions, the maps, everything, and
Hmm.
then the husband keeps saying to the wife, "Do you have everything? It's a long journey." Halfway through the journey, she throws the maps out the window. The husband gets mad. He's like, "Why are you doing this?" And she says, "Well, because we're going to press a button right here, and another woman's going to tell you where to drive."
Right.
Now that's 1950. Our brains could not comprehend a GPS system in
No.
1950. And now we have phones where we could do our banking, we could shop online, we could FaceTime someone in England.
You
I
could
mean,
chill your beer with it? No. Okay, maybe not
not
that.
quite.
No.
But
Yeah.
this is what I'm saying. So when I tell people, people listen to me and
Yeah.
say, wow, this woman's out of her mind. Well, just remember, there was a time that we didn't understand any of this. So all I say to
Yes.
people is just to be open to it and realize that certain things are changing, and we're able to do some of this communication.
Yeah. If you were able to bring back that magic phone, yeah,
Yes.
you'd
Well,
be considered a witch, or
Right,
and they'd
exactly.
be stoning you.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
Burned at the
Right.
stake.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that's what I'm saying. It's a
Damn.
good
Yeah.
thing I'm in 2024 here and not in
It's
That's
funny.
right.
It's so
back in the
funny.
1600s. I'd be hanging from the
That's
rafters.
right.
Swinging from the rafter, from the cottonwood.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because our show sort of, I guess, demi slogan is that's a possibility. And it's funny, that's something that my late father used to say to me when he like about anything. And it was I never really thought I'd be hosting a podcast about the paranormal and quoting his, upon, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
But there are often times when, he was born in 1924, and on September 6th, if he had lived long enough, he would have been 100. And very often, I'm looking at my iPhone, and I'm like, I look at my mom, and I'm like, what do you think Daddy would think of all this?
I know,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And she would say, "Oh, he'd love it. He'd be open. He'd be open to it."
Yeah.
And I
Right,
was like, "Okay,
Interesting.
exactly,
yeah."
exactly. Well, did Joe tell you the story of when he was taking a red eye to California?
Oh,
Did he tell you
no.
this? Okay. He was
No.
taking a
No.
red eye, and because he is a medium, so that's actually one of our ghost hunting tools that a lot of these shows don't have, that Joe is actually a medium, so he can communicate.
Sure.
But he was taking a red eye, and he was picking up that someone wanted to communicate with him. So through his mediumship, he connected with someone while he was on the flight.
Hmm.
And the person on the other side asked Joe, "Where's the propellers on the airplane?"
Oh.
Because they,
Wow.
back when they had, it must have been the early,
Where are
around
the
Wright brother time
propellers?
period.
Yeah.
And so the guy was looking for propellers.
Right. Wow.
So, so they
He
are
wanted to
aware
know,
of the
how's this thing
changes.
working?
Yes, exactly. So there are things that they see, like they understand, like that we have cars and things like that, but
Right.
they can question them. It's
Interesting.
interesting.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's so much, you could talk for hours about it.
Is there one inspection? Is there one investigation that you went on that just totally floored you? You hear the voices on the EVP and stuff like that, but
Right.
is there something that just really stood out as,
Yeah.
wow, this is really crazy?
Yeah, I have a couple of them, so I'll go through them quickly. Well, my favorite place on Long Island is the Country House Restaurant. It's the most consistently active place
You said
on
this
Long
is in
Island as far as
Setauket?
this one's in Stony Brook,
Stony
and it's a
Brook.
great restaurant. And if you go there, tell Bob Wilmston I sent you.
We're going to go
It's a
there.
We're
fabulous
going
restaurant.
there.
We'll go there
And
this
yeah,
weekend.
and we'll definitely mention my name. And it's fabulous food, but
Right.
there's constant activities. We got EVPs, orbs, light flashes, all of that. So that's always going on.
Right.
But another one of my favorites is Fiorello Dolce, which is a modern, gorgeous French bakery in Huntington Village. And they have both ghosts and spirits there. And the things that Gerard has gotten
Hmm.
on his surveillance camera is amazing. He actually wrote a fictitious book called The Baker's Ghost, which came out over the winter. In fact, I'll hook you up with him. You should have him on your show.
Sure.
The things that go on at this bakery. There's only two real people in the work of fiction because it's based on his experience. The only two real people are me and Joe, believe it
Right.
or not.
Is this off like 110? Is it
It's
like on a
right
side
in the
street?
village. It's right, and it's by Cassis and the movie theater right in Huntington Village.
Okay,
So,
I think I worked like a block away from there. I was working on a
oh,
show.
really? So
Yeah,
that's a good one.
yeah. I think I've
But
been there.
as far as things that happened to me, I had two incidents with ghosts that blew me away with my camera. One was, I think, for either the first or second ghost book, we were at Lloyd's Antiques in Eastport, which is now gone.
Oh,
And very
okay.
eccentric guy who ran it at the time. And he was telling us about his great, 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 great uncle Levi and how he was a prankster and he would knock things over and he would form as an apparition, tell people that a table that's $400 was $40, that kind of thing. So, this
Right.
was back when I was first doing the ghost book. So I was still kind of like, I don't know if I believe this or whatever, with in certain cases. So when Joe and I went upstairs to walk around and photograph, Lloyd had said to me, watch out, Uncle Levi may knock something off. So I sort of was like, all right, yeah, whatever, nothing's gonna happen. Well, I he had the last laugh
Never say
because
never. Yeah.
yeah, I had my
Right.
I was switching something on my camera and I put my flash down on the middle of the table and I was still attached to everything, and next thing you know, whew, right off the table, blew
Wow.
right off and damaged the flash. And Joe heard it. He came and he says, Levi. And we got a white noise EVP that said, "Psst, psst," like, come here, I'm over here, that little whisper sound.
Sure.
So we had that. So I've always been very guarded with my camera equipment now. So for Haunted Long Island Mysteries, all these years later, we're in the Long Island Maritime Museum. I was not prepared for it to be as active as it was. They have a prankster ghost, and the director was like, "We've got to get to the bottom of this because, this ghost is disrupting my day. It's knocking on the doors and there's no one there. It wakes in the middle of the night. I get calls that someone broke in here with the security and there's no one here. And trophies are flying off the wall." So I wasn't expecting it to be this active.
Right.
So at the end of the day, we spent several hours there. It's a beautiful place and had a lot of activity. But at the end of the day, we were in the main library area where we were told a lot of activity had taken place. And I was holding my camera equipment, and because it's so big with the power pack and everything, I cradle it in my left arm like you would a baby, okay? And I had the cool pics hanging off my right wrist. So I'm holding the camera like that, looking around, saying, okay, did I get everything I wanted in this room to photograph? And Joe was videotaping. All of a sudden, my camera started taking photographs. And I
Yikes.
said, Joe, and he saw it. I said, do you see what's happening? My camera is taking pictures. He says, well, you probably have the automatic timer on. I said, Joe, I don't even know where that is on this camera. I've never used it.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I said that, there's another picture taken. So we have a photograph in the book that says picture taken by a ghost, and it's crooked because he didn't go to school for photography like I did, the ghosts. And so it's crooked. And you could see in the glass, the reflection of the glass, you could actually see me looking down like, what is going on here?
Right.
So we set up another Ghost Box recording session and we found out that his name was Ed. And we're like, do you knock off the trophies off the wall? And he said, yeah, I knock. And we're like, why do you do this? He's like, I shouldn't. And we said, well, do you mess around with the security system? And he says, it messes me. So
I've heard this. I've heard the EVPs from this.
yeah,
He was
you
like,
heard that
I
one. And
knocked.
it's just
Wow.
it's so that one I would say, that
It
grouping is
messes
probably the
me.
one that messes me. I mean, it's hilarious. It really, really is. So I would
Wow.
say that probably those couple are the ones that really stand out
Wow.
in
Very
my
neat.
That one
Can-
definitely stayed with me when you're like, are you knocking off the trophies? He's like, I knocked.
I know, good.
We look. We want to be very respectful of your time because you've given us plenty of time. But we love talking to you, and we could probably go on another 2 hours. But I know,
Exactly.
I know you have a very tight schedule. Tell our audience where they can get these books. Are they available on Amazon? And if they want to listen to the EVPs,
Yes.
where can they go? What's your website address? Where they
Okay,
can?
well, the books are everywhere. They are on Amazon. You might even be able to find copies, although I don't know, people are selling copies that are used for a lot of money for the original ghost books. But the
Right.
ones that are currently out, the crime book, the two ghost books,
Mm-hmm.
the metal, you can find those on Amazon, and in several bookstores on Long Island carry them. And if you want signed copies, though, you can order them directly through my website. So if you're going on there
Mm-hmm.
to listen to the EVPs, you can go on to ghostsoflongisland.com or my name, carrieannflanaganbrosky.com. If you can't, remember how to spell that, just Google my name or just go to Ghosts of Long Island.
It
Well,
comes
You can
right up.
actually
It comes right
order
up.
it.
We'll put a
Yeah, and
link
then
on the
I'll
Back to Paranormal
personalize.
website.
What?
We'll
Yeah.
put a link on the Back to
Okay,
Paranormal
perfect.
website.
Yeah, because then I can personalize and sign the books to people, and they make great gifts. So,
Yeah. Well, we picked up two of them, and I'm just pouring through the books. I haven't even gotten through them all yet, but they're just really wonderful stuff. And
right.
but I want to thank you for coming on here, and we'd love to have you back sometime.
Oh,
Yeah, I would love to be
Carrie
back. I
Because-
mean, right now, like I said, my schedule is tight because I am on book tour. So if people are interested to see where I'm speaking, a lot of the events I'm doing with Joe, primarily in the fall, but I do things year round.
Right.
You can also find my listing of events on my website. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram under my name, and you could find things there. But I would love to be on, especially after my next book comes out, number 10,
Okay.
and take it. We could talk about Padre Pio and all the gifts that he had. And
We would love to do a
we
show
We would
about
love
that.
to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Thank
okay,
you.
great. Well,
Thank
thank you
you,
so much
Carrie
for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on here. God bless you.
Okay,
God
thank
bless
so
you.
much.
All
Take
right.
care.
Take care
Bye.
now.
Bye.
Wasn't that a really wonderful interview? I mean, she gave us all these wonderful stories.
She's
and
amazing.
She is amazing. Her and her partner there, Joe.
Joe Giaquinto.
Yes,
She's amazing. They're both in their own way.
Yeah.
Really, really neat people. And I love her thirst for history.
Absolutely.
It really jazzes me. It helps you because they go to these places, okay, and they're there to find out what's going on here, like what's the energy behind here, and she's coming at it from the historical
Yes.
angle, and then Joe tries to not really entertain all of that information. He wants to feel the spirit of the area. He wants to kind of have his
he wants to get the full
his
color and the flavor.
mediumship be of the place,
Right.
and the people who have moved on but are still circulating in that region. And I think that what's really neat is how so many people are like, oh, well, this happened to me while I was in the basement taking inventory, and I ran and I screamed, and and it really creeped me out. And that's totally normal. Most people would be that way. But then when you just stop and look at the history, it's like you don't have to run away screaming.
No.
Scary as it might be, especially when you read some of the stories that are in this book, you get, whoa, okay, if that happened to me, but when you read about the history and what happened to these people while they were living, and it gives you such an empathy.
Yes, absolutely.
And you're not going to run away screaming, ew, yikes, you're...
Right. A good ghost.
Now, when you were little, you really loved Casper the Friendly Ghost.
I really did.
And
I really
that
did.
was because you had empathy, because he was a small boy and he was misunderstood.
He was misunderstood, and I could never understand what, he wasn't trying to scare them. He was just trying to be friends, and it just seemed like, most of the characters were repelled by the fact that he was a ghost, and I felt for him. I felt for the character. And what's really funny is, years later, I ended up working on the new Casper show. And so I ended up creating a lot of the episodes for young people to watch. It was the Spooktacular Adventures of Casper. And so that was, I was a storyboard person, basically illustrating those cartoons. So I always found that kind of weird that, I grew up on it, I really liked it, and then I ended up being like a key storyboard artist on the show. So it's funny how things work.
Full circle.
Yeah, full circle.
Yeah.
But it's almost like I knew it was like my future, so.
That you were destined to be.
Destined to work on it. One of the few storyboard people working on it. Yeah.
Well,
so anyway.
Because there was an understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, they took it to a madcap level, basically really, really kind of camping it up for the cartoon. But still, it was still fun to work on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so.
Well, one thing I really loved about this book was Haunted Long Island Mysteries is within the foreword, there is a quotation, Marie Curie, the wonderful radiologist scientist. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more, so that we may fear less. Mm-hmm. And it's very simple, and it's very true.
Yeah, I want to tell one little story.
But hey, this is your show. You're the boss.
Well, you're the boss too.
No, you tell your story, then I can have another sip of my Coke.
You can, yeah. You
Ghost Pines Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah, what a plug that is. That's a really good plug there. Maybe we'll get a case of this stuff. Maybe they'll send us like a lifetime supply of these wines after they hear us plugging it. Okay, so anyway,
your wishful thinking is
I was at my mom's house.
Hope springs eternal, as they say.
Okay, that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
You were at your mother's home.
No, I was at my mom's house, and she was talking about, my father passed away about 15 years ago now, and but my mom still lives in the same house, and she's up there in years, but. She said she was sitting there, and all of a sudden she saw a figure walk across the room, and it was misty, but she saw it, and it walked across the room, went up these stairs, and then kind of went out of sight. And she stood there. She was not moving. She was just watching, it. And then she went looking for it throughout the house, and she could not find it. But she said, no, it was definite figure going through the living room there. And she just told it, and she was just like, she said she wasn't spooked by it. She was just more fascinated by it. And, there was a comment that Carrie Ann made on this episode that she believes that everything's haunted, that spirits are all around us.
I agree.
And I believe that because I've seen things. I've woken up and seen some, weird figure hovering over my bed. And, I've gotten a sense, like been in rooms where all of a sudden the temperature has just dropped to like 0, it feels like.
Yeah.
And, it just, I've seen things in the corners and stuff like that of the room. And, so just so much weird stuff over the years, and I'm sure everybody's experienced stuff like that. I know you have.
Yes.
And sometimes we just kind of we shrug because we're not sure what it is. But I think, I agree with her. I think spirits are all around us, and I think the more receptive you are to it, the more you'll see stuff like that. So, anyway.
And just also be respectful and understanding and
yeah. Because, like she said, spooks are people too, spirits, spooks.
I would like to go to the Millerage Inn and see if we can hear that little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's another inn across the way called the Main Maid Inn, and it was actually part of the Underground Railroad.
Yes.
And if you know about that, that was basically trying to help people who were slaves and hide them away. and basically they would just usher them into an area, and basically they would, keep them there until the coast was clear, and then they would move them somewhere else. And I think the key was getting them up north. So anyway, it was there's a lot of history in Long Island and a lot of places that feel very spooky. So there you go.
I really enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun, and talking with Carrie Ann Flanagan Brodsky was so serendipitous that I would meet her and that we would meet her.
Yeah, it was pretty
that
amazing.
She would be
right?
kind enough to give us her time.
That's right. Her and her upcoming, we'll have an interview with her partner Joe.
Giaquinto.
And he is a psychic medium and an investigator, and he has some very unique stories to tell us.
He's just a wonderful person all around.
Yeah, so we'll have that in a couple of weeks, and we have some interesting interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. So please stay tuned. And,
please do.
And please tell us, give us some comments. If you like the show, let us know about it. All right. We're all over the place. You can text us anywhere you get the podcast. You can just leave a text, or you can go on our Facebook page or go on our website and leave comments there.
Oh, and we're going to be at the Para-Unity Conference.
We are going to be there. That's what date is that? That's coming up on Saturday. I think that's the 2nd, right?
The second.
The 2nd, Saturday the 2nd. It's in Woodbridge, New Jersey. And if you're really into this stuff, I think Kindred Spirits, I think Amy Bruni and Adam Berry and even Chip Coffee, which sounds like an ice cream. I've said that before.
A scoop in a cup with a cone
of Chip Coffee. Also, Ghost Hunters are going to be there.
That was a really lame joke, guys. I'm sorry.
I loved it.
I'm sure you did.
I did. And if you gave me some Chip Coffee ice cream, I'd probably eat it all up.
We have dulce de leche. How about that?
I'll take that. That's great. So anyway.
Thank you for listening.
Can we plug her books?
Oh, we didn't already?
Well,
yes.
We did she did, but Haunted Long Island Mysteries is what we're featuring today. And then
Historic Haunts of Long Island.
That's right. And those books are both available on Amazon. If you get it through her website, it's CarrieAnnFlanaganBrodsky.com. If you type in Carrie Ann, FLA, it's probably going to pop up. Go to her website. You can order the books directly from her, and she'll even sign them for you. How about that?
I think that's really nice.
I think it's really...
Ours are signed.
Yeah, ours are signed. We got copies each signed.
And good Lord willing,
yes,
we will have her back on our show to discuss another book about a completely different topic, but of a very
miraculous nature.
And supernatural and deeply moving material.
And I think it'll probably be sometime in December.
I think I would love it if we could get it in.
But we got some really good shows coming up. We got some really great shows coming up.
We do.
Yeah, so don't just come back for that. Come back for some of the other stuff, because you'll really enjoy it. So anyway, I think we should just call it quits tonight. What do you think?
I agree. I need to go digest my cheese souffle.
Yeah, I got to drink the rest of this wine. Yeah, Ghost Pines. Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week for another episode of
Back to Paranormal.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
And God bless you.
God bless you.